Problems, worries, sadness. Are you seeking solutions?
Bible says,
Do not be anxious about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Choose faith over fear.
Some people might look at jobs in youth ministry and think of them as a bit of a joke. They might say, all you guys do is like play games, dance, eat pizza, have fun and talk. And it's like, to them I'd say, you try eating pizza for the 5th time in a row. You try playing bippity bippity bop for the 1,000,000th time. You try talking when you don't want to talk to anyone. Try having fun when you don't want to have fun, and try just being joyful with young people, even when that's exactly how you're not feeling. And so in this episode, I'm joined by an awesome friend of mine, Joel Duval, who works in the Catholic Diocese of Wollongong in the schools and with young people in youth ministry. And I'm super stoked to have him on the show. Joel, how are you going?
I'm very well, Zach. How are you?
Yeah, really good. See, joyful, straight from the start. Like, you've just got this energy and this vibe about you.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it. So do you want to tell everyone what you do, like what your role involves and what you find yourself doing during the week?
Yeah, cool. So I work for Catholic Education in the Diocese of Wollongong, and my job title is Education Officer for Youth Ministry. So I basically work with all the youth ministry coordinators in each of our 9 high schools. They're kind of like my contact in each of the schools. I work with Seth, so we come under the brand CYMW, so Catholic Youth Ministry Wollongong, thank you. And so Seth and I basically come up with a whole bunch of diocese-wide initiatives that we run in schools. Look, we have a thing called Live Nights, and I'm sure Seth will talk to you about that, but we basically go in with the truck, play a lunchtime concert, throw some chocolates out to kids, get a big crowd happening, and then on that same day we have like an afternoon retreat. We have food, we have games, we have music, we have a speaker, and we have time for small groups. We've got youth ministry leaders in each of our schools, so they're normally year 11 students, and we kind of train them up. So I work with, again, training up youth ministry leaders in our schools, forming each of the youth ministry coordinators. We run a retreat for them, have network sessions so that they can then bounce ideas off one another. And then I kind of work with each youth ministry coordinator in their school to come up with some school-based youth ministry initiatives.
And at these live nights, like, what do you usually do? Because I've seen you at a few of them, but like I want to know exactly what you do, because it's still youth ministry. And how old are you?
So I'm just about to turn 36.
Right. So you're a 36-year-old doing youth ministry. And what do you do at these events?
Okay. So at the lunchtime concert, we've got Seth, who is a crazy piano player. We've got Fiesta or Mickey, who are our lead singers. And it looks like I'm musical when I'm up there and I have a microphone, but I have no musical talent at all. So I'm the vamp guy. So I get the crowd involved. I throw out chocolates. I do some really bad dance moves to get the kids involved.
What's like your go-to dance move?
I don't know. I jump a lot, and then I always get in trouble with Seth because he's like, you're gonna fall through the stage because it's like the side of a truck that's like
you're gonna flip the truck.
So I try not to do that. If it's like worship music, I kind of do like the step and the clap, which I thought was really easy, and I'm not really coordinated. And so we were training some youth ministry leaders the other day, and one kid just couldn't keep in time. I'm like, just don't move. I was like, just clap in time if you can.
Or sway.
Or sway. It was a little bit difficult, but that's okay. So when we actually do the after-school retreat, I've kind of co-organised everything with the youth ministry coordinator. So I make sure that all our youth ministry leaders know what they're doing in terms of small groups and whatnot. I normally run the games, and I'm kind of normally like the MC of the live night.
Awesome. Well, I have to ask, like, you're 36, and how do you stay at least looking still so young? Like, I'm 23 and I've already got like grey hairs in my beard, my back hurts, and I'm like, my skin is like leather. Like, what do you do to stay young?
Well, it helps to be someone that comes from a cultured family in terms of overseas. So my dad is from a little country called Mauritius. Do you know where that is? You look at me.
It's French.
Yeah? It is?
Yep.
Whereabouts is it, Zach?
No idea. My geography's not great.
Wait, just let me have a sec. I feel like I'm on Ellen. It's great.
Steam.
It's really good. So off the east coast of South Africa, you got Madagascar, and then you got Mauritius. So tiny little island. It was colonised by the French, but they're normally relatively dark in colour. And then my mum was born in Malta. So I've got the mixture of the African and the European skin. So I've got that on my side, which is really great. So that, I guess, helps to kind of keep me a little
Any
bit
like life
young.
health hacks as well?
Yeah, water. So I drink a lot of water. So I have a giant water bottle, and it just keeps growing every year.
I've got the tea and you've got
I've just got hot water. That's really good. But yeah, so I probably drink about, I don't know, 5.5, 6 liters of water a day.
And a little bit more like seriously, I guess.
Yeah.
How do you what keeps you going in youth ministry? Like, why are you still so passionate about it? Where's the fire in your belly come from to like, be a hype man when maybe you're getting a bit tired of being a hype man and being joyful and being youthful?
Yeah, I had this amazing encounter experience while I was at World Youth Day in Poland. And from that experience all throughout my time in Poland, I was like, I can't just come back and just kind of share my story. I need to do something more to get the young people in our diocese involved in faith. So I was talking with one of the ladies from the office who was kind of like one of our chaperones, and we had this chat for about 3 hours at 1:30 in the morning on the steps of
Those are the best,
the Capitol in where we were staying at the apartments, and it was really great. And so I had this fire to be like, this can't just be for me. This relationship that I have with Jesus can't just be for me. I need to not just tell people about it. I need to create spaces for people to have that relationship.
Yeah, I guess the thing about World Youth Day is more than just people sharing their stories. There's this
100%.
experience around you.
And I was thinking the young people in our diocese shouldn't have to go halfway across the world to have an encounter experience. So I guess that's kind of my big driver, wanting young people to know that like a relationship with Jesus is for everyone, and that they can have that relationship and that their life is a million times better when they have a relationship with Jesus. And you know what it's like in youth ministry. It's a bit of a vulnerable space. You have to be vulnerable if you want to have a relationship with God. So we try to create really safe environments where kids can actually contemplate what it means to have a relationship with God.
And you would, I guess, witness that to them, like at a youth ministry event, you wouldn't be there sort of like at the back on your phone, even though you're one of the leaders that's forming the leaders. You're not there just sitting back, relaxing. You're there talking to young people. You're up the front, dancing around, having a good time, showing them that there is more to life than just disconnecting from reality and sitting at the back of the room. What are some other things that you can do on ministry on those days that, maybe you're not feeling it. Maybe you're just like, there's nothing left in the tank, and I know that I'm supposed to be showing these young people there's something more, but like I'm just not feeling. What do you do practically to get like in the zone?
I guess prayer always helps me. So whenever I'm on the way to an event, I always have out loud conversations with God, talk about what I'm about to go into, not just ministry. I talk about what's happening in my life and just check in with God. And then I guess music helps me a lot to get pumped up. So we use music a lot in our youth ministry events to get kids really excited and kind of like raise the energy. And whenever Seth and I are planning an event, we always look at, okay, what do we want to do to like get the energy up, and then how are we going to bring the energy down, depending on what's happening throughout the program. But for myself, I guess, I like to be prepared. So I make sure I know what I'm doing, so what the program is. So I'm not worrying about things in terms of like structurally, this has got to happen. So I kind of let that go. But I guess, I don't know, whenever I hang out with young people, whenever I'm doing youth ministry, or even just hang out with like Seth and my friends, I just get this energy. And so I try to, I don't try to be positive. I guess I am just a very positive person. But getting a microphone and having some music kind of gives me the energy.
But even then it sounds like there's a key lesson there. It's like try to prepare before you get to the event. Like if you wake up and you're feeling a little bit lifeless, like don't wait until you get to the event to try and get hype. Like try and do some things on the way there to help you get there. But as you said, like there's also a time in ministry where maybe like we go a little bit deeper and things take a little bit of a slower tone. And I think sometimes we can sort of like maybe set an example for young people about a level of holiness that's like not attainable. We try to be like, Zac the sage, the all holy, wise, grey-bearded man, even though we're only like, 23 years old. Like how do you find the balance between like, still, I guess, being joyful and being youthful, and then also being, I guess, contemplative and prayerful at the same time.
Well, Seth and I were actually just training our youth ministry leaders the other week, and one of the things we tell them that's really important to encourage others to engage in their faith or explore their faith is to be an authentic witness. So it is when there is music and when we need to be hyped, that's what I do. But then when it is time for a talk or for a worship session, I don't sit in with the kids because I'm like, it's not about me, it's about them. I always sit off to the side, but I'm always on the floor with the kids. I don't like to get on a chair and sit at the back because, I sit with teachers and with some other adults and even some leaders. It's so easy just to get on your phone because it's like, okay, after this, I have to do this. So it's about letting go of what's happened before, what's happening after the event. Just be in the present and be open to the experience, be open to God working in your life. Because we tell kids all the time, because you have kids that rock up to a youth ministry event, it could be their first event that they've ever been to, and they can get really uncomfortable when there's a worship session happening. And so they want to talk to their friends or they want to get on their phone. And I mean, there are teachers there to be able to kind of like rein them in. But in order to show others what to do, just be engaged in what's being presented before you.
And that's the other thing is, like, you might have something to learn. Like, it's a youth ministry event and you might be a youth leader, but I've been to so many youth ministry events where, like, someone has said something that has deeply and profoundly impacted me and my spiritual life. And I think one of the things, I went to a ministry event when I was supervising the UQ team, and it was on like the life of St. Francis, I think. And he was talking about, you know, like as soon as you think you know everything, like that's when you know nothing. And I think youth ministry is such an incredible gift. Like, I think people are right. It is a bit of a joke, youth ministry jobs, because it's such an incredible job, you know. Not only do you get to see incredible things happen, but you also do get filled up so much, like you said, like being around other youth leaders, being around young people, and you learn and you grow so much. And even the other day, I was running a youth group and I gave a talk on how Jesus spent his life giving and giving and giving. And the one time, I was like, I can't think of any times when Jesus asked for anything. And the kid goes, what about when he was at the well with the woman? I went, wow, let's think about that. And I was like, he didn't even get a drink of water.
No.
And in that conversation with these young people, I learned something as well. So,
like Zac, every time I leave a youth ministry event, I just am left with even more joy and just I'm filled with so much spirit and energy leaving that event. And my wife always says when I get home, she's like, it was a good one, wasn't it? I was like, yeah. And then I like to then share that with my family at home as well. So I'm always filled when I'm giving as well.
Yeah, great. And if you could give us, I guess, any encouragement, maybe we're not like you, maybe we aren't as positive or we aren't filled with as much joy and energy as maybe you are. What are some things you might be able to give us to help, I guess, be youthful, stay youthful whilst being involved in youth ministry? And I've been involved in youth ministry for like 5 years. There are times when I'm feeling a little bit flat. Like, what are some things that we could do?
Well, I guess knowing what the gifts that God has graced you with and play to those strengths. Like, I look at Seth and I look at Michaela and Fiesta, who are incredible, like incredibly talented musicians. And in my head, I'm like, I don't need to be like that because God's given me my own gift. So, and I guess my gift is energy, and be able to talk and be able to develop great relationships with people. So it's knowing, okay, well, what am I good at? What are my strengths? And if there's something I want to get good at, then maybe I practice that. But it's about then just giving everything over to God. I think, especially with young people, it's very easy to get caught up in your life, and you kind of then have this me mentality where you're at the center of everything. Whereas I believe that our lives aren't about us; it's about the other. So what are we doing to serve someone else? Because as soon as you put the focus on you, you get caught up in like the stress and the drama and the anxiety.
This isn't going the way that I want it to go.
Exactly, because it's about you. So it's just like, okay, you've got to then let go and give it over to God. I mean, you still got to play your part and do what you can. But yeah, it's about making sure that you're outward focused and thinking, how can I serve every person that I come across in my life? What am I going to do to be able to serve them? Is that just by listening to them, by talking to them, by doing something physically for them, seeing what help they need, all that sort of stuff.
Awesome. So another question I was hoping to ask you, which I'm going to be talking to Seth a little bit about later, sort of just about integrity in ministry. How do you sort of practice your faith in your own life? How do you sort of stay faithful and be an authentic witness to young people as well?
Yeah, cool. So I make sure that I have daily conversations with God. So not because I drive a lot, because our schools are really quite far apart. So I'm always in the car. So I actually use an app called Pray As You Go. So that's a really good app that helps me to it either does the first reading of the day or it does the scripture of the day, and it kind of does a bit of a Lectio. But I love it because it's got music from all different kind of genres and ages. So it's kind of cool to be like, what are we actually going to hear today? So I like to use that to kind of then spark my conversation for the day, and to be able to then just talk to God about kind of what's happening in my life and kind of what I might need help with, or the people in my life that need help, and just thanking Him for all the blessings that I've got. So that's kind of what I do in my personal life. But then,
why is it so important to actually practice your own faith and to spend your own time in prayer when you're involved in ministry? Like, why is that such an important thing?
Yeah, well, I think if for anyone, but especially in ministry, because we're working with young people who we're trying to give them opportunities to be able to explore their faith. If we're not then practicing our own faith, it's like you said it before, it's about being that authentic witness. You can't be an authentic witness of something you actually aren't witnessing or experiencing.
They can smell it out.
100% kids know. They have a great BS detector. They're just like, I know when you're not being like genuine.
Yeah.
And especially because I come from a teaching background, if you don't know something, kids are very quick to be able to call you out on it. And it's just like, I don't know it. Like, you don't need to be perfect all the time. So it is about, and I guess if you are really giving everything over to God, it does. It just changes the way that you live your life. Because you're not, for me, I'm not living my life for me, I'm living my life for others.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do in my own personal prayer life. And obviously I go to Mass each week. That also really helps me as well. But then we pray as a family. So I'm married and I have a little boy. So we always pray before dinner, but then there'll be times when, so Elise, my wife is a big lover of theology of the body. Awesome. So we were just engaged in a Theology of the Body conference. That was all online, and then we did a conference that was on apologetics. So I also like being educated in the faith. So it's great to have a relationship with God, and I make sure I work on that and make sure I'm creating spaces for myself to encounter God on a daily basis. But I also like to be upskilled and know about the roots of our faith and why the church says certain things. So these conferences are really great because they're led by international, amazing kind of like lecturers and leaders in the Catholic faith.
That probably relates to the next question I was going to ask you. It's just like, then how do you go on sharing what you discover in your prayer life and what you discover from, these conferences? How do you share that in a way that actually relates to young people? Like, for me, it's no problem to sit through a 3-hour Theology of the Body lecture. Like, I'm like, this is awesome. But how do you share that sort of stuff in a way that actually hits home for young people? What are some things that you found particularly useful? Yeah,
well, when Seth and I are out at schools and because we can't have a break in between the lunchtime concert and after school, or if we're training our youth ministry leaders, we've got periods where we're just kind of like hanging out with the kids and just chatting them. And one of the things I was going to say before, when you work with young people, it's not about trying to be young like them, because they don't want some old guy that's trying to then hold on to his youth, or some older woman who's trying to then pretend that they're 16, 17. It's about just then having a conversation and treating them like a real person. So I think it's so important to give kids the time of day just to be able to then have a chat with them and to show that you genuinely are interested in what they've got to say and you want to get to know them. Like, it's not about, in my head, it's not about then me getting more friends, because I don't want to be friends with 16-year-olds.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I've got enough friends. I mean, I've got friends who are like 45. If I'm like going down to 16, I mean, I've got a nephew who's like 15 and a half, and I'm mates with him, but that's very different because I'm related. I have to be friends. No, I don't. I love him.
Makes Christmas more interesting.
Exactly. But no, so it's about then just showing them that you're giving them the time of day, because I think adults are very quick to then belittle young people, like teenagers, to show that they're not important, they're not worth anything, and all that.
But again, like I was saying, like, as soon as you think you know everything, that's when you know nothing. Like, you should always assume that you've got something to learn from this. 100%. Because they know a lot more than I think we think.
They really do. But when Seth and I are in schools, like, we always are getting questions, and it's always the big questions. Why does the church say this about homosexuals, or abortion, or euthanasia, or contraception? So I like to make sure I'm aware as to what our church says, and not just so I can then just say, oh, this is what the church says. I then understand it, and then I live it as well. So then I explain to them, well, this is why the church says this. Because if you just give them a yes or no answer, or this is what the church says, and you don't unpack it, then they're not really going to then want to take on the values of the Catholic Church, in my opinion. So it's about giving them the why. Do
you find there's a difference between particular people asking those questions? Like, some people are asking, and they've already got their answer made up in their mind. And some young people are asking that actually are hungry to know. Like, I remember... one time I was running a retreat. It was our last retreat on my year on net. And this kid was like, oh, sir, which girl are you dating? And I was just like, oh, I'm actually not dating any of these girls. Like, I've got a girlfriend who lives in Armidale, since married. And he was like curious, like, sir, so you trust her? You live that far away? I was like, yeah, bro, that's what like love is. And then he just kept asking questions, and I got to sort of explore the theology of the body with him a little bit.
Yeah, nice.
And he was so invested that at one point some of the lads were talking. He goes, oi! Shut up, I'm trying to listen. I was like, this guy is hungry to know the truth. But sometimes young people just maybe aren't as interested in, and even if you've got a smackdown syllogism of like what the Catholic truth is, maybe they're just not ready for it. I think that's something that we should be ready for.
Yeah, so I think it's about reading the person that you're actually then talking with. And in my mind, I try not to I'm not trying to win them over or trying to change their opinion, because everyone's got freedom and free will, so everyone's got the freedom to believe what they want to believe. And so if someone's going to ask me a direct question, I'm going to say, well, this is what I believe, and this is why I believe what I believe, and it will align with the Catholic Church. And then when they ask those surface level issues about like homosexuality and like dating or contraception or abortion, I like to take it deeper down to like the principles of human dignity and what does it mean to be a gift and what is love. So it's not this surface level, it's going really deep, and it hopefully changes their thinking. I am a child of God made in his image and likeness, and what does that actually mean? So I like to kind of have those great conversations, but then it just depends on how much time you've got to kind of go deep with a young person. It
definitely starts with relationship. Like you can't have those chats unless you're seeing them regularly and you're like, you know, you're a youth minister and you're not on your phone, but
100%.
you're actually out there, you're joyful, you're living life radically, and you're practicing the things that you're preaching. And I'm super keen to rip into that with Seth later. So again, thank you, man, so much for coming on the show.
I'm very happy.
Really, really stoked to have you, and seriously keep doing the stuff you're doing here in Wollongong.
Awesome.
And join us next week for another slice of pizza. Hopefully there's a lot of wisdom there for you to have and for you in your ministry. If you're not involved in ministry, maybe there's an encouragement there for you to actually, do something, even though if you don't feel up to it, find out what your gifts are, drink water, and
don't eat pizza. I know this is...
What?
I don't eat pizza. That's another key to staying young. It's about eating healthy.
Then why does every youth minister eat pizza?
I don't know, because it's just there. And I know what it's like. Pizza's so convenient.
Okay. Serve up a salad at youth group next week.
100%. Or like one of our schools does like make your own hamburgers. So they just have all the stuff there. So get creative. It's not always about the pizza, but I know that this is about pizza.
Cool.
And I'm sorry to all those people that love pizza.
No, they get it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, guys. I'm going to hang out for a bit.
Thanks.
Shalom World brings to you the Catholic faith in all its different dimensions. It can be a faith to inspire you in your own living of your Catholic life in society. Shalom World offers you an opportunity of being enriched and strengthened in your family life. We live in a culture that needs to have a Catholic presence. We live in a culture that needs to be evangelized by the presence of Catholic teaching and the inspiration to live according to our Catholic way of life. I recommend to you to be involved in the work of Shalom World. May the Lord bless you and bless the work of Shalom World. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.